Victory or ease or success or support is never going to come until you go through a period of difficulty. That's one of the rules of Allah. The believers are not all the same. There are slackers, people who are sitting and watching the telly. And there are hard workers. When they see injustice, they're standing up and doing something about it. Don't you think that before I give you victory, let's first see who's who? I need to filter the believers. That's my rule. I'm not going to give you victory until I first filter the believers. That's the rule of Allah. So how do I filter the believers? You go into a mine and you mine raw steel ore. This raw rock from the middle of the earth. How are you going to filter this rock and get the raw metal from it? You have to put it through fire. 1,200 degrees Celsius fire. That's how you filter it. That's the only way to filter the impurities and get the pure material. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us, if you are going to be successful, if you're going to get my help and my support, I'm not going to give it to you until first I put you through the furnace, I melt the group of believers and I see who's the real believer and who's the waste man, who's the lazy one, who's the loser amongst them. I need to see who's who. And so I'm going to expose them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, look at the prophets before you. Prophets before you went through phases. Number one, they were rejected. They had to be patient with all the rejection and all the fighting and all the opposition. They had to prove their patience. They had to be harmed for the sake of Allah. Once they went through this period of difficulty, harm, affliction, then I gave them my support and my victory. And nobody can change the words and the ways and the rules of Allah. And haven't the previous stories of prophets come to you? You are going to have to go through, collectively as an ummah, you have to go through a period of test before you get the victory. There's no other way. One of the most important sunnahs of Allah is that on this earth, there will always be a war, a fight, a struggle between good and evil. He designed it this way. When you ask the question, why did Allah create the evil? Why did Allah create prostitution? Why did Allah create murder, rape, killing, racism, discrimination? Why did Allah create it? Well, that's the whole point. Without black, you won't know what's white. Without the evil, you won't know who's good. The whole point of the evil is that when Allah creates those tests and those circumstances, the good people, the real leaders, they stand up and they do something about it and they prove themselves. When that doesn't exist, you don't know what's what and who's who. Allah created the test on this earth to inspire those of good to stand up and do something about it. And there will always be a struggle between good and evil. Every movie you've seen, every book you've read, all of the most famous stories in the last 100, 200, 300 years, there's always a fight between good and evil. Every story that's popular, that's well known, has the same template, the same pattern, good versus evil. Because this is something so known to human beings. We know it, we see it. But sometimes we don't realize it's happening. But this is how Allah designed this earth. It has to happen in this way. What is the greatest battle happening in the world today? The biggest battlefield in the world today is not a physical battlefield. It's not guns and torpedoes and tanks. The biggest battle of the world today is a battle for the human mind. The intellectual battle. The battle of the media. The battle of narratives. The world has changed a lot in the last 300 to 400 years. The competition between nations and ideologies is who can win the minds of people through TikTok, through social media, through what you watch on TV, through content you consume. Your mind is being owned. Your ideas are being shaped and molded. This is where the real battle is. Physical battlefields are just a distraction. This is really where the battle is. And then you have every person's battle with themselves. And then you have our battles with each other. But really, the mind and heart of the human being, this is what everybody is trying to own today. They call it the attention economy. Every second that you spend on the internet, somebody is earning millions and millions of pounds. Because every moment you spend looking at an advertisement, somebody's making money and somebody's spending money. The battle is for your attention. The battle is for your ideas, to change your ideas, to change your beliefs. That's really where the battle is happening. How many people migrated to Western countries, from Muslim countries to Western countries in an economic migration, and 1-2 generations later they find that their grandchildren are not Muslims anymore, only by name. Everything else is gone. What happened? There was no physical battle, but the battle for the human mind, for human beliefs, has been won and has been lost. This is really where the battle is taking place. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, what are the reasons that he would cease helping the Muslims. Even the Prophet ﷺ and his companions, he didn't help them in the second half of Battle of Uhud. Why? Disobedience of Allah, mixed intentions, disunity within each other, وَتَنَازَعْتُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ, and getting distracted by shiny things, getting distracted by material earnings. I'm not going to help you. You guys can go and you guys can lose the battle. Allah promises victory for the believers. إِنَّا لَنَنصُرُ رُسُلَنَا وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَيَوْمَ يَقُومُ الْأَشْهَادِ. I promise I will support my messengers and the believers in this world and on the Day of Judgment. Allah says, my messengers and myself, we will always be victorious. I am the mighty and I cannot be compelled. As He promises the people of Musa, Banu Israel, I will give you back your land. But that's only for people who are scared of fear, who fear me and who fear the Day of Judgment. When we understand these verses about victory, they're not blanket verses that Allah will just help the believers willy-nilly. First, He wants the believers to get their ducks in a row, get your house in order, then I will help you. Can't help you if you don't help yourself. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Allah's not going to change your state until you change what's in yourself. That's why you have to go through those phases. The phase of the struggle between good and evil. The phase of test, you have to go through the test. You have to go through the struggle. The phase of victory and then the destruction of the opposition, the destruction of those who rebel against Allah and His Messenger and cause destruction and rife on this earth. These are the phases Allah promises us in the Quran. The rise and fall of the victory that Allah gives the believers depends on the believers themselves. And it's not something that applies to the entire ummah in one go. But factions of the ummah Allah could assist, and other factions, they could be in decline. So sometimes you have one part of the ummah is doing great, the other part of the ummah is in decline. The same factors, the same reasons apply. What other factors? Allah has promised those who have firm belief and who do good deeds. لَيَسْتَخْلِفَنَّهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ كَمَا اسْتَخْلَفَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ. I will allow you to have power and influence on this earth just as I did before. Don't lose hope. Look before you. Nations before you were destroyed. Nations before you rose and fell. If you're falling right now, I can help you rise, but you need to pay attention to the details. وَلَيُمَكِّنَنَّ لَهُمْ دِينَهُمُ الَّذِي ارْتَضَى لَهُمْ. I will let your deen, your way of life, become superior on this earth. وَلَيُبَدِّلَنَّهُمْ مِنْ بَعْدِ خَوْفِهِمْ أَمْنًا. I will replace your fear with hope and safety. يَعْبُدُونَنِي لَا يُشْرِكُونَ بِي شَيْئًا. If you worship me and you don't associate equals with me. وَمَنْ كَفَرَ بَعْدَ ذَلِكَ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْفَاسِقُونَ. And whoever disbelieves after that, then they are the rebellious. Here Allah outlines a number of different reasons that He would support Muslims. The first one is the development of their Iman, their core beliefs. If this Iman, this belief in Allah and this trust in Allah is shaky, trust me, nothing's going to happen. That support from Allah is not going to come. There are so many signs of weak Iman, weak trust, weak belief in Allah. But one of them is not acting and working for the cause of Allah. The cause of Allah, the problems that we can solve, our Muslims are so many. But because we're not doing anything about it, what did we think? That Allah's victory was just going to come like how the people of Isa alayhi salam asked from Allah. They asked Isa, ask Allah to send us a dining table from the sky. We have nice dinner. Send us a buffet from the sky. That's not how it works. We have to work for it. We need Iman. That core set of beliefs needs to be strong. And number two, we need to show actions. As an ummah or as individuals, often we are people of talk. But on the ground, grassroots, nothing is happening. It could be something small, but if we're not acting, we're not doing, we're not people of action, then we're not going to get that response from Allah. So Iman, righteous action. Number three, al-ibadah, to be people of devotion and worship. Allah says, يَعْبُدُونَنِي لَا يُشْرِكُونَ بِي شَيْئًا. They devote themselves to me and they don't make equals to me.